This conference will now be recorded.
Operations. And before we get started, I want to make a few explanatory remarks. Accommodations tax allocation approval was on the agenda of the February 13th regular meeting of Town Council. The council decided more work had to be done before authorization. Ideally, this meeting would not be necessary. So before we go further, I want to thank my colleagues on council, the administrative staff, and the members of the public for your collective patience and understanding as we work together to develop the best allocation plan we can. There will be no votes taken at this meeting. The public will hear the funding requests. Oops, I touched something. Yeah, the public will hear the funding requests and the discussions among council members, and will have an opportunity to comment afterward. Actual funding allocations will occur at the February 27th regular council meeting. There's two primary issues related to ATAC's proposal that must be addressed. First is lack of options in the proposal, and second is the funding focus. I want to discuss lack of options first. The resolution contained a list of items totaling the exact amount of funds to be spent without any additional alternatives. Therefore, unless Town Council agreed to the proposal in whole without any revision, it had no alternative except to simply strike items from the list and potentially lose that funding. I understand this option could simplify things for both the ATAX committee and Town Council, as all that would be necessary is approval. However, that process does a disservice to the residents who are represented by their elected officials. Town Council cannot simply approve a list in good conscience without sufficient rigor. This would almost be a dereliction of duty. I have already said I do not intend to be part of a rubber stamp council, and I sincerely mean that. Simple approval without debate has the look of a foregone conclusion. We must avoid even the appearance of behind-the-scenes decisions and review all requests publicly. I believe each department should ask for everything it can within the bounds of ATAX law, well beyond the amount of available funding, and each department should prioritize its items so that if council rejects one or more, it knows what the department believes is the next priority and may consider that for replacement. I have no objection to the administration prioritizing requests of one department ahead of another for guidance to Town Council. However, there must be options and debate of those options, as that is necessary for Town Council to make the most well-informed, fiscally responsible decisions to allocate town resources. The second issue deals with funding focus. Accommodations taxes are, by definition, taxes imposed upon overnight visitors, those who contribute to our economy at least by staying in our town, and most likely by also spending money in our shops and restaurants. State law imposes conditions on how ATAX dollars can be spent, but in short, it must be related to tourism, though that definition is rather broad. I understand that the tourist population does impact our public safety and public works departments, and that the law provides for some flexibility to use this funding within those departments, but those expenditures should be more related to quality of life improvements for residents and tourists alike. It does not seem appropriate that those departments receive the bulk of the funds, as they have minimal ability to generate additional tourist revenue in the future. It would behoove the town to consider these funds as an investment in tourism, so that our spending would increase tourism and by extension generate additional ATAX funds in subsequent years. Public safety and public works are impacted by tourism, and some supplemental funding of those departments makes sense, but the focus should be on investing to increase ATAX funds. Therefore, for these two reasons, lack of options to consider and funding focus, last week I requested the administrator and staff to go back to their request lists and bring those ideas to this workshop. I look forward to a robust discussion. All right, I've taken a few minutes to set the table. Before we move on, it's appropriate that I offer a similar opportunity to my council colleagues if anyone has any other thoughts to pass on.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Kinkin.
you did a good job. I do have one question. If there's funds on this that we do not approve, I've asked this question, can it be reallocated to the pier fund? Because we're going to be woefully short this year on the pier fund. And so I'm looking for an answer, because I understand a lot of this, we either spend it or we lose it. Please.
Yeah, you can answer that before we get going.
I believe this money could be used towards some things at the pier, but you have to specify what you are going to use it for, so we can tell the state, the Turk, that we spent it for this and have backup that we spent it for what we said we were going to spend it for. So.
Could I ask one? Mr. Mayor?
Sure.
If we apply it to personnel that's gonna manage the pier, is that suitable?
I was reading more again this morning. I think so, but I was talking to Charlie, and he recommended local aid tax for that purpose of running the pier. But I think some of it could be used from pier two, just from what I've read.
Okay,
And I'd also state, Mayor, that because these are carryover funds, we don't want to spend these funds on something that's going to reoccur in the next year.
Yes, I'm sorry. Regular aid tax, like the yearly budget that we go for, yes, we can do salaries that way. This is one-time remaining money from last fiscal year that we must use by June 2025. So we cannot use this money for reoccurring items.
Did you say 25?
June, you have 2 years.
Okay,
So when we were talking about public safety items like this, one-time items, there's a huge lag. So this is why I believe that we would come to council to do a budget amendment so we can get the ball rolling, get POs ready to go, so we can get those items in within that timeframe.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Krecklau.
I'd like to ask, I thought what this money was that we're talking about today was already a year old, so doesn't it have to be
This
used?
is the money that was left over June 30th of of 2023.
Okay.
We've got 2 years.
Now,
You had a year
Two
before that.
years normally, but I thought this was
Yeah.
already a
It's
year
22.
old.
well, the only thing remaining from 22 was we budgeted, you'll see a few roll forward things on here. We budgeted the money for the pier events to open it, so we're asking to re-budget that again. It's technically already budgeted, but that budget didn't roll forward to this year. So that's why we're asking in the amendment to roll it forward, because it's already earmarked. So basically, you're just adding into the budget, so Tabitha can use it this
That
year.
can be changed though, could it? Since it has not been used, it's just rolled apart, not change that.
You could, but I wouldn't recommend it since we're looking at opening the pier soon.
I'll get more into that question a little bit later on, but I don't understand why it would be, just because we voted forward, we have to use this fiscal year, that we didn't use that year.
Yeah, I think we've got that as an item
Yes.
here, so we can get into
That's
that
right,
detail at that point.
More.
Are there any other general comments before we get into the details? All right, with that, I'd like to invite Administrator Vincent to kick this off and
Thank you.
do it in the order you see fit.
Sure. So before you, Mayor and Council, you've got the resolution 24-0167. This is the resolution that was recommended by the ATAX committee that met on January the 24th, 2024. So you'll see the request from the police department, fire department, public works and events. And I would just suggest that we continue in that order. So Chief Hoffman will give the first presentation on his request.
Thank you, Administrator Vincent, Mayor and Council and citizens. Thank you very much for the opportunity to present some of these items to you for consideration. At the request of the mayor, I did go back into my requests and reorder them a little bit, at least to what I feel like are the priorities from the police department's perspective. And I'll run through them, although they won't be in order on the presentation I'm going to give, but I can bounce back to this. But we feel like the most important thing that is tourist related that needs to be funded with these remaining funds is our annual beach services Kubota replacement. That is the vehicle used by beach services and also the police department for various activities throughout the summer season. But primarily these we have two of these, and we replace one each year. And this would be the one that would be replaced in the FY25 budget, but we're recommending moving it forward to go ahead and acquire it with these remaining funds, as that will reduce the burden on the FY25 accommodations tax funding. If And the reason we do this, Director Adair and I, and he may be able to speak a little better about it if you'd like to have more questions on that as I go through it. But that program seems to work really well to keep the equipment functioning each year and keep our staff in service throughout the summer. The second item would be the expansion of our existing Flock automatic license plate reader network. That has an initial cost that could be funded in ATAX. The recurring cost could be funded through hospitality. It could be added to that budget. The wireless camera system expansion is the third. The fourth would be the permanent pole mounted speed radar signs, and then our message board radar trailer with license plate reader capability, and then the trike positron professional mobility vehicles would be the last item in our priority list. But just to run through these, one of these systems is the expansion of our wireless camera system. The system currently has 66 cameras that are primarily placed in your R3 area right now. It has been funded through the accommodations tax each year. We've been building on this system since about 2014 incrementally throughout the years. It has been instrumental for our dispatchers and our officers to be able to monitor what's going on down in the R3 area. We've had numerous assists in solving crimes that have already occurred. Our communications officers are able to monitor this in real time in dispatch. They're not watching 66 cameras at all times, but they have their priority areas that they keep an eye on depending on whether it's day shift or night shift. So they're able to see things going on and notify the officers if they see that. And then also reducing town liability. An example of this would be 2 years ago, we had a lawsuit, a pending lawsuit that came into the town where someone was claiming that an uneven sidewalk near 6th Avenue North had caused his mother, who he was pushing on like a wheelchair of sorts, and that because of an uneven sidewalk caused the chair to flip over and that his mother was injured. However, due to your wireless camera systems, we were able to pull up the footage from that incident and see that actually they were pushing her backwards improperly on the chair, which is actually what caused it to flip over. So, you know, who knows what that lawsuit might have cost? It could have been more than what you've invested in your entire camera system with one lawsuit. But they have been very helpful in those situations. Another example of this is recently there was a car theft down in the R3 area, and the camera system was able to capture footage of that individual who was subsequently arrested and charged with that. Another car theft incident also happened down there, happened to be the same individual who stole a car, and the camera system caught him in the area right before the car was stolen in investigation. So, and a more serious one, you may be familiar, about 3 years ago, we had a sexual assault home invasion that happened down in the R3 area. And the camera that captured an image of that suspect had just been up to 2 weeks. And we would have had no suspect, no leads, and don't know if that case would have ever been closed had it not been for the camera system giving us a still shot. And with the help of the community, we were able to get a suspect identified and close that case. To me, that one case alone justifies expanding the system as much as possible to protect our visitors. And those are just examples of our camera uses within the R3 area. What we do know is where we put these cameras, victimization of your residents and your tourists, particularly at parking lots and your golf cart accesses, stop. They just stop. The cameras are very helpful. So yeah, you can put up dummy cameras and maybe get the same effect. But some people will steal things, but the cameras have been extremely helpful for us. We had a fight in progress down in the E District, and the dispatcher, when the call came in, the dispatcher was able to zoom in on that one camera, blow it up, and give officers real-time information as they were responding down there. So these are just some examples of how important this system is to us. There's $25,000 right now funded in the hospitality line item in the current budget that we are working with HTC, who is our sole source vendor on this program, to expand into our parks. So we put that in hospitality. But we want to expand into some of our parks. Martin Park, the park on Surfside Drive and around the library, your Memorial Park, and the Passage Park and the dog parks. So we're working on putting some cameras down there in the current budget. We've put that program on hold until we can kind of get an idea whether you want to put more money into it from ATAX. Also, All Children's Park at 10th Avenue South and moving some cameras up to the highway. So we want to try to get some cameras at least in 3 locations at Melody, Surfside Drive, and 5th North to be able to capture some of those areas. That is tourism related to me because that's where our tourists are traveling as they're coming into town. It's on that highway stretch. So we're asking you to approve an additional funding of $50,000 to put on top of that $25,000, which would give us a significant expansion to help be able to get some critical infrastructure on Surfside Drive. And that will help us moving forward to be able to add some cameras around your gravel lot on Surfside Drive where tourists will be parking, and also other activities that are going on through Surfside Drive and into your business district. So that is that particular request. Mr. Mayor, would you like me to stop and take questions per item, or would you like me to run on through?
What do you prefer?
It really, while they're fresh in your mind, if you want to pepper me, go right ahead.
Yeah, let's do it by item. I think
Yes,
so.
sir.
Let's
Mr.
talk
Mayor.
about camera. Go ahead, Mr. Wallace.
You know how I support, I push to get you included on the pier cameras. My question for you would be, knowing that we're putting 19 more cameras from the pier on.
Yes, sir.
And now with this expansion, I know we're trying to get you a bigger police station, but that's not gonna be for a while.
Yes, sir.
Can you handle this expansion?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, this would just be, so there's some network infrastructure things that will need to be done to give us some additional storage space for these additional cameras. But sure, one day it'd be great if we had a real-time crime center where we just had people watching cameras like they do in Myrtle Beach. It's very effective for crime solving for them. But right now, the main thing is to get these areas recorded so that, again, like, for example, to answer your question, night shift has their own set of cameras that they watch. They can customize what cameras they want to watch. Our night shift communications officers, they like to focus their attention on parking lots down in the R3 area so they can see if cars pull in there at 4 o'clock in the morning and black out and they're just sitting there. That could be a sign that there's something going on there. They also like to keep the cameras focused on that general pier area down around Surfside Drive so they can see activity that's going on. Day shift will probably focus a little bit more on the highway and have those things going on because we have motor vehicle accidents and other things going on the highway. Just as an example, they may do something different, but so it's really not about being able to watch it. Let's say you approve this and we're able to push from 66 cameras to 100 cameras. No one's watching 100 cameras in real time, but they have access to those cameras in real time if they need to. If a call comes in of an incident that's happening, say at Surfside Drive in 17, they can immediately go to that particular image that's on there, whatever number of images they're showing on they have an 80-inch screen and dispatch, so they have all these. That's showing 32, they actually have the ability to show 64, and they can double click on that one image, which blows the whole thing up, so they have a good view of what's going on. It's very dynamic and in real time. And of course, if something happens, then we have the ability to go back, replay, and see what happened to be able to investigate things that are going on, whether that be a criminal thing or even a civil liability type thing.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Stanley.
Kenny, we have a lot of cameras in town now. How many do you think we need to provide for this smaller area? How many cameras do you think we need in town? I mean, if we're at, you said from 66, say to 100, that's, what, 33 more cameras?
And that's
Basically, how many do we need? How many cameras do we need here?
in my opinion, as many as possible, as many as you're willing to pay for and as many as we can afford, because they are a force multiplier for us where officers can't be at the time, or if we miss something, it just gives us a real-time capability to observe things. So, I think the last council kind of said they wanted to move towards the parks and get us something a little bit more for the residents. So that's why we're shooting for the parks and right now to try to get some of the parks covered. And the highway was also a request that was made to get some cameras up on the highway, so.
Yeah, I was on the council where we brought up the park deal, and
Yes, sir.
I'm all about putting some cameras in our park for
Yes, sir.
kids, for young people and all that. But why do we need it? My question is, why do we need more in town just to monitor? I mean, 66 cameras already is a pretty fair amount of cameras here in town.
Yes,
So why
sir.
do we need to add, does that mean just that 20-some or 30-some more that you need to go into these parks? Or is it more to monitor town, more to monitor just every little corner and nook of town?
No, not really. What we want to do is keep an eye on our hot spots in town, because that's where things are either going to happen in real time or things are going to have happened that we want to be able to find out what happened so we can answer those questions. But really getting into our parks to be able to provide that coverage, I think is important for our citizens. It's been expressed. And also we get a lot of requests about things that have happened on the highway. A lot of people see the camera that's on a pole at Surfside Drive and 17. They think that's one of our cameras. So we get requests for something that might have happened, a wreck or an accident that might have happened, but that's not ours. That's a DOT camera, and we don't have access to it. It's not recorded. It's only for live viewing through SCDOT. So this will help us to be able to address some of those requests.
See, I thought that was the $25,000 we had unapproved for the parks. I thought that was to put these cameras in. So you were wanting an extra $50,000 more to put more cameras in.
We would like to use that money to expand the existing infrastructure, to get some more cameras in each of those locations, and then provide for future expansion if that's what council chooses. But we're doing really well with what we have, and it's been extremely successful, which is one reason why I think it's important to expand it. And then hopefully in the future, if there is sort of a larger communications center that may be planned, we would have a better capability to be able to display more of those cameras simultaneously. But I understand your concern too. Yeah, like when's enough?
It's sort of like, we want to monitor every little thing that the citizen does, which is, fine me, I ain't gonna do nothing wrong anyway, or try not to. But it's just, it's like, we, as citizens, get sort of tired of being monitored every time we turn around by police cameras and stuff. I mean, it's sort of invading a little bit of my privacy. And that's why I keep asking you, why do we need so many cameras in the town? Well, I mean, it's just one right after another.
Well, first I'll just say that these cameras are not in anyone's private space. These are all in public areas, and no one is sitting and staring at those cameras and monitoring what citizens do. They're just recording all the time. And if we are called to pay attention to something, then we can focus on that. However, at night, when those things are going on, yes, the communications officers are trying to keep an eye on your areas while you're sleeping.
I hate to keep interrupting there. It bothers me.
Okay.
That this is happening, that we need so many cameras in this small amount of area that we need to spend that much more money to add 30 more cameras in town. It bothers me. I'm one of them people it bothers. I want you to be protective of the town. And if so be it, we don't have the President of the United States coming to town, so we don't have to monitor every little corner these people monitor. But as I know, if that is voided, any of this stuff is voided that you have on record, anybody can go pull it up and look to see. It might not be pointing in my house, but it covers a broad area. If it's something that happens in my house and one of the council or somebody out here in the audience wanted to pull that up, all they're gonna do is for you. And they can reach out and grab that information.
That's correct.
So that bothers me, but that gets into my privacy.
Well,
I'm just telling you, that's just.
no, that's fine.
Concerns me.
And just know, I'm not emotionally attached to any of
No, I
these
know,
requests.
I
I'm just trying to give you
I
an
know, I've
option.
been through this before.
Yes, sir.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Mr. Mayor,
Ms. Sean?
I understand what Mr. Singh is talking about, but I also understand, and you can tell me if I'm going the wrong way with this. For Surfside Beach, a family beach, and we're not talking about putting cameras at somebody's residence.
Right.
Like on 4th and Cedar. I would have welcomed a camera there. I had to depend on my ring to prove something. And it's true, I don't want a camera on every block. I agree with that. I think we need to understand the parks down, because it's gonna take one bad thing. And you talk about tourism, it's gonna go down. I bought a brand new house one time. I was very young, I was only there a month, and a mother and daughter got raped. It was in a very nice neighborhood. We couldn't sell those houses. So flip that side to tourism. Just think about it, kinda. We have to come to a happy medium, though. I do understand.
I
So
agree.
that's my point of view.
Yes, ma'am, I agree.
Anybody else? Okay, I guess I got a couple questions, and I'm gonna say right out, I'm more civil libertarian, I'm not into surveillance in general.
We
so-
had that conversation, yes, sir.
We've had that conversation.
Yes, sir.
Before I could approve anything else, I would want to see a vision. You said expand as much as possible.
Right.
That concerns me greatly. I would like to say that if we get 17 done, if we get the parks done, we're done. Not Hollywood, not Cedar, not, or if you think that is the vision, then that's what I would like to hear. Ultimately, I believe this group is responsible for that vision.
Yes, sir.
I guess I'd like to know what you're thinking, because it is concerning to me. Everything, we're watched everywhere, not just by police. I mean, we're monitored through our phones all the time, so on and so forth. I don't go for that. I do want public safety. I think we are a very safe community. I think your folks do a very good job.
Thank you.
So I don't really see a need for a lot of camera expansion. But again, if we were to expand it, that's the one thing I want to know is when does it stop? When are we done? And again, I think that's more us, but I guess if you got a minute, go ahead and what is your vision?
My vision is coming to an end. I don't think that we need cameras within the blocks of our residential areas. I don't think that there's a need for that. But I do think that covering our thoroughfares like Highway 17, Ocean Boulevard, and down in the areas, perhaps maybe with resident concerns, you could hit some of our thoroughfares going east and west. But there's not really a great need for that. We're not getting a lot of need where, man, I wish we had a camera on 16th Avenue North and Cedar. We're not getting that need, but we are getting a need of, man, if we had a camera on 17, maybe we would have been able to identify our home accidents to thief a little bit quicker. If we had a camera there, we are getting some of those needs. So I think the highway makes sense. And I think that our parks make sense, because we do from time to time have some complaints about suspicious activity. Protecting our children, obviously, number one concern in our families, to protect our reputation as a family beach. So I don't have a vision, Mr. Mayor, of expanding the camera system into our residential areas unless council identifies a need for that. To be quite honest, if we get close to 100 cameras or so, I really think that we're really where we should be. But I do want to mention one thing too, sir. These recordings are not going into a giant server somewhere. They're just small video recorder systems, and they're keeping about 30 days, and it's gone. So we're not keeping a long history and tracking citizens' movement and things like that, similar to the discussion we had about the license plate readers, and I'll touch on that again for you too.
And I'll ask about that.
Yeah, yes, sir, I know. So I think that I understand the concerns about privacy. I share those concerns with you as well. I feel the very same way. And I'll just jump into that when we get to the block. But yes, sir.
Okay, then I guess I'd like to follow up. So we have 66 cameras primarily in the R3 district right now. And you've got 25 requests from the HTAX budget to expand into parks. This one here, you're talking about Highway 17 corridor. Taking your last statement there, would this basically do it? I mean, would we have 17 adequately covered, the parks adequately covered at this point? Or are we looking at one more round or what?
We really would like to see sort of continuing an incremental expansion of the system to make sure that what we're doing makes sense. We're just cutting and attaching to 3 intersections along the highway right now. Melody, because you may be aware we've had a lot of incidents down at Melody, and Surfside Drive, because it is sort of our hub of where everyone is coming in, particularly coming down Glens Bay as they've opened 31 into 707. A lot of tourist traffic is coming in that way. And then 5th North also. Perhaps in the future, maybe a camera a little on the, further on the north end could be beneficial. I don't know, but right now, I think that this is a good attempt at trying to see whether highway cameras are beneficial to the police department. And if I ask for more, I'd like to be able to come to you with specific examples like I did today of how we're really utilizing the system for public safety and to protect our tourists and our residents, of course.
I guess
Mr. Pecklau.
I have one question as far as the reoccurring costs.
Right.
Has the town ever looked at hardwiring the cameras rather than using wireless? Because I know wireless probably is about around $10 a camera per month, and maybe a little less because we get a discount. But if you hardwire them, yes, it's an expense, but it kind of goes away. I mean, it's a lot more minimal than wireless. Have we ever looked at that?
So that's a great question, sir. And just to let you know, these are IP wireless cameras and they transmit by radios.
Oh, so they're
So
not.
we're not paying a monthly fee for those.
Thank you.
I will say though, just to be clear, we are working with HTC to identify how we're going to get a signal out of All Children's Park at 10th South because of the canopy. There is a possibility we may have to use one air card or LTE off of 5Gs in the area to be able to get some of that data out. But right now, this system is not costing you a monthly fee. They're not air card cameras. But I will say that maybe we've just been lucky, but HTC has been a really good partner in this program, and they do a really good job of helping us troubleshoot problems and other things and fine tuning IP and wireless. Sometimes they got to change those bandwidths a little bit because of interference. They're amazing. They're such a good partner in this program to keep these cameras up and running. Even I've kind of wondered how it can all work sometimes through wireless and IP, but I hope I answered your question.
Thank you. Yes, you did.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Kinkin.
I've seen some of the look backs, and it's amazing what you can see. But I do have a question. How long will these cameras last? What's the life expectancy of a camera?
The cameras that last the shortest life are the ones that are closest to the beach.
I can
Okay,
imagine.
it's such a harsh environment. But I will tell you that just last year, we had to replace the camera at the 3rd Avenue North canopy. Right there, it was one of the very first cameras that we put up like 9 years ago. It finally just got some salt air invasion and started to. They have a really long life. We moved away from the PTZ cameras because they have the moving parts in them. Those did not last a long time. So instead, we've gone to an array. So if we put a pole up somewhere, we try to put 3 or 4 cameras on each pole so we can get as close to a 360 as possible without moving parts. And those cameras seem to have a life of about 8 years. And the cameras are actually the cheapest part. It's the network infrastructure, the gigabit antennas, and all of that kind of stuff that is a little bit more expensive. So even if the camera goes out, cameras are $100. They're very affordable. It's the radio and the network infrastructure that starts adding on the cost. So I would say 8 years or so per camera is kind of probably, I'm just grabbing that from what I can remember.
Wow, those are your cars.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Good on cameras?
All right.
Carry on.
The permanent pole-mounted speed radar signs have been a fan favorite among our residents for traffic calming on our main thoroughfares. We have already done, we've already accomplished 16th North, 5th North, 10th South, and Melody Lane through funding with ATAX. I would like to get 4 more signs to do 2 more streets, 2 signs per street. We try to put them right in the middle. I know you guys have seen them. The residents have reported it has been the greatest impact on traffic calming on our thoroughfares that are affected by tourism traffic. So I would like to expand that to Surfside Drive and 17th Avenue North, which would complete the project of hitting all of our thoroughfares. Unless council identifies, based on resident concerns, additional residential areas, I don't see a request in ATAX for any more of these. I think hospitality would be more appropriate to fund any additional requests from our residents. If we wanted to hit, I've gotten requests to put them on Hollywood, Cedar, and some of those other areas. But right now, this would complete what I've been trying to accomplish over the last 3 years.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Wallace?
I'm coming to you on behest of some of my neighbors.
Okay?
Just curious, Kenny, you know we've got that dump off at 10th North. I don't need to tell you about how much traffic comes in down there to the lake, makes the right and runs down, well, not just, it's not because of my house, but it's some other residents actually came. Yes, sir. Is that, I was just curious because I need to visit with these folks after the meeting.
Yes, sir.
Is that a problem area for us? Do you get a lot of calls as far as, you know, how it dumps out into that dead end and you have to make a right over 7th and then access down to the beach, you know where?
Not really. I haven't gotten a lot of complaints.
Okay.
I don't
We seem to
recall
have a
any.
lot of people going fast down there and I just wondered.
I did get complaints when they were doing the construction down there because they had altered some of the traffic. Maybe they had part of Ocean Boulevard closed and they were detouring traffic up 10th North. I was
Okay.
getting some complaints then because people were trying to make up for being inconvenienced by moving a little faster through the neighborhoods right there. But I haven't gotten any specific ones that I can recall right now.
Thank you. I hope my neighbors are listening.
Mr. Mayor,
Ms. Shawn?
I've gotten, residents from 15th South that are very concerned. And I drove it, I couldn't believe how long you can drive block to block to block with no stop signs. And, they have requested through me that we should look at that because they're saying they're coming off 17 and it's like a drag race. One of the neighbors actually lost a pet over it. That street has more slow down signs than I've ever seen in Surfside. So we need to look at that too, if we're starting to look at but 15th South is a very important street.
Absolutely. It certainly could be something we could look at, and working with Director Derry and I work really closely together on working on these traffic calming initiatives. And 16th North has really been sort of our experiment ground over the years. Put various things, thermoplastics down and other things to try to calm some of that traffic, but we can certainly look at that. You could increase the funding on this if you'd like, 20,000, and I'd go ahead and knock that out.
Hey, if it was up to me, I would
Just
say
give me the
yes
word,
because I
right?
like it.
They really are a good bang for the buck. Once we put them in, there's no wiring, they're solar powered, self-sufficient. There's no recurring costs with those. And well, we did have a truck hit one of them. So we had to replace the solar panel because the truck clipped it going by. But still they've just been great.
My granddaughter tells me to slow down when she sees the number now. She knows it's 30. She goes, "Are you doing 29?"
Mr. Jamie?
I run for council, the same complaint came from 15, I think it's 15 South,
Okay.
about the speeding down through there. Do you think that putting up speed signs on that highway would slow that down, or do we need to look at putting up stop signs or
So,
bumps or something?
we've done a lot of research on stop signs. And all statistics point to stop signs are the least effective way to calm speeds. There's the research, DOT does not recommend using speed signs for traffic calming. They recommend using other things. So based on resident reviews, this may be a good way to go with 15th South as well. You're talking about the same street, but.
Yes, I'm talking about the same street.
So we could certainly, like I said, I could shift this funding at the direction of council. I could, instead of Surfside Drive, I could do 17th North and 15th South. If that's council's direction, I can, or you could increase the funding an additional $8,000 and we could knock all three of them out.
Take that $50,000, we'll buy some cameras and cut it in half.
If you want to divert funding from cameras to speed signs, that's,
Just say it.
yes, yep, totally understand. Any other questions on this, Mr. Mayor?
So these things do not take pictures and send tickets?
No,
They're just warnings?
they're just warnings.
Okay.
They have the ability to data log, but we do not have data logging on. So if somebody's saying that sign is not helping, we can go and turn the data logging on and we can run a speed survey and then come up with those results. But right now, we don't have that. But they do not take pictures, and they do not take pictures of license plates or anything. They're just radar-based to display speed.
Anything else on the pole-mounted radar signs? Carry on.
We would like to expand our flock safety license plate reader network. Currently, we have 9 license plate reader cameras. They have been an absolute game changer for us in the last year and a half, almost 2 years that we've had them up. 2 Fridays ago, a stolen car came into town. It was actually a stolen plate. Flock alerted dispatch and our officers. They have this software in the cars. It's in dispatch as well. Alerted them to a stolen tag. They got to the highway, got behind the vehicle. The vehicle was also stolen. It was a brief pursuit, and 3 individuals bailed out of the car. Our officers, with the help of Horry County PD, were able to apprehend all 3 individuals. One was a juvenile with a gun. So I can go on and on. The license plate readers have been so helpful. We get probably anywhere from 40 to 100 hits a month. These are wanted individuals, stolen vehicles, stolen tags, Amber Alerts. There's just a lot of benefit to this program. Right now, though, we're just catching cars that are coming in. And we would like to expand a couple of areas. There's a couple of roads on the west side of 17 that people can get into town without coming by those. And savvy people who know that we have license plate readers are going to avoid where they know that those are. So we would like to pick up a couple of those roads as well and get a couple of outbound cameras as well. We found a need for that during the home accidents to burglary. We could have identified that suspect much quicker if we had had a license plate reader outbound at Melody Lane. We had a vehicle description, but not a tag. The license plate readers allow us to search. And if you haven't seen this capability, please come by and visit with me. You can search by vehicle make, model, color. If it's got bumper stickers, you can just search cars with bumper stickers and it will show you those things. It's amazing. But we have closed many, many cases and caught people that are in our community doing bad things with these cameras. And certainly that has impacted us with tourism as an overall safety initiative to make sure we keep a safe community. So this would allow funding for 4 additional cameras for the $20,050. $16,600 would be a recurring annual maintenance fee that would be funded out of another, like hospitality or somewhere else, since we don't want to do recurring things out of ATAX, correct? Maybe. Maybe. So, and the other good thing about this too is other maintenance costs. We don't own these cameras. We don't have to maintain the cameras. This is license plate reader as a service. If a camera goes down, they come out and fix the camera. If the solar panel stops working, they come out and fix it. We are just paying them to provide us with a functioning system at all times. They do regular maintenance. Sometimes I'll just get an email that they've been out and cleaned all the solar panels. It's a really, really, really good system and is much more affordable than some of the other options that are out there. Some of our neighbors have a much more robust license plate reader system that will say if a tag comes in that's suspended or the driver of the car is suspended. We think that's a little too much. And we've had this conversation, Mr. Mayor, as well too. How much is too much? So we just want to know criminals, gang members, stolen cars, stolen tags, people who are coming in that are most likely actively planning to do harm to our community. And they've been really successful at that. On the privacy side, the reason I like Flock, 30 days, all data gone. If you don't grab it in 30 days, it's gone. Some of these other systems maintain forever. So they could actually create a breadcrumb trail of everywhere you've traveled and every one of those license plate readers that you've hit within the state. They can find that. If we don't use this data, it's gone in 30 days. There's nobody watching them because there's even no way to monitor the cameras in real time. We get an alert. If the alert results in something, We mark it as we needed that information and then it will save it for us. But other than that, everything else is gone in 30 days.
Is this information, Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Staney?
is this information kept private, or can anybody access this information from these cameras?
This,
Or is it just police,
just police.
just police, it can't be monitored or brought in by individual person?
Well, no, but for example, if you had like a planned urban development in town, I don't know, let's say Harbor Lights.
Yeah.
If they said, we really would like to have license plate readers at the two entrances in and out of Harbor Lights, they can contract directly with Flock and put cameras up themselves, and they could choose to share that information with the police department if they choose to share their network. That's one of the advantages of Flock. They are also a neighborhood supplier for HOAs and other things like that. So that neighborhood could choose to share their information. A private entity could share their readings into our system if they choose to. Does that answer your question, sir?
Are they able to
They can,
access other information off of the other cameras?
they cannot see ours. They cannot see other cameras, only their own. Then they can just choose, kind of like Ring.
Yeah.
You could choose to share your Ring footage with the police if you like.
Okay.
I have a similar question to cameras. When are we done? How much more are you looking, to complete the system for the town?
Right now, I don't see any other need beyond trying to grab those additional streets and make sure that we cover it unless something else arises that we can articulate a need. My goal initially when we launched the Flock program was to try to get every point of access because we are so lucky with the way we are designed. There's only so many ways to get into this town. And a lot of communities don't have that advantage. So really my goal was to try to get every inbound street that could come into Surfside. So with these two additional streets, and I'm trying to remember where the fourth camera is, we're getting really close to have covered all of the entrances in the town. And I would certainly understand that I would need to justify any additional request for an expansion of this system.
I
Mr.
just have
Krecklau?
one short question. Since it's 16,000 reoccurring,
Right.
what's the total for the Flock system? What will it be after
Sure.
we add these four?
Great question. We pay $22,500 right now for the existing 9 cameras.
So it would add 16 to it.
The prices have gone up a little bit. We're locked in at $22,500 as long as we maintain our maintenance agreement on the existing 9 cameras for the additional 4 cameras. So not being able to whip that up real quick in my head, it'd be $22,500 plus the $16,600 would be the total cost of the entire system. And again, that's everything. That's communication. They have their own LTE cards and those things. We pay nothing but that flat fee. Yes, sir.
Anything else on Flock? All right, keep going.
So the last 2 years at the Chiefs Conference, I checked out these Trike Positron. I haven't got a lot of excitement from the officers on these yet, but I rode one. And I don't think that we could have a better option for our officers to engage in community-oriented policing down in the E District and be able to interact with people than these pieces of equipment right here. And everyone can disagree, and I'll be fine with it. But I've watched videos on these. I've talked to the representatives. I know what cities are using them, and they're having a lot of success. The option is we could have officers on bicycles down in the E District if you want community policing. But if you want to do an experiment this July, meet me. I'll put a bulletproof vest on you and 30 pounds of gear around your waist, and we'll ride around on a bicycle for about an hour. And it's rough, even at night. And I'm bike certified, so these devices would allow officers to be able to get up on the pier via the handicap ramp or the ramp that goes around. I think this would increase our ability to get our officers out and interacting with the community on the pier, down in the E District area, and be able to move around. One thing that happens when we have officers on bike in the summertime, particularly around the 4th of July, because we know that's coming back soon, an incident happens and you got an officer, I don't know, at the pier area and something's happening at Melody Lane. They've got to get back to their car, but they need to get there quick and get there. These devices have a 40-mile range on them and can run up to 45 miles an hour. They have emergency equipment on them and lights and turn signals and all that kind of good stuff. I know they're expensive. Call it a toy, turn it down. I'm okay with it. I just think that it would be a really practical piece of equipment to allow our officers to engage with the community down in the district, in the pier area, and be able to get out there. I know you want an officer presence on the pier. At least I've been told that you do. And I think that this would be a practical way to be able to do it. Is it a need? No. Do I think it'd be beneficial? Yes. Maybe this year's not the right year, but I want to get it in front of you so you can, I tried to get one here to demo, it didn't happen. But the training is expensive. We would need to send one person to go get trained to be able to train other people to use it. You do these things go 45 miles an hour. So there is some training that's going to be involved in it. So.
Mr. Mayor.
Ready to
duck. I'm one of them people that's not in favor of this whatsoever.
I understand.
I buy you a new golf cart to ride around down the district instead of these things. I'm not a favor of this whatsoever, but I think another golf cart open to, you can get in and out.
Right.
I know the police officers need to get up on the pier. I hope our officers are healthy enough that they can get up there. If they pull right up to the pier, get up the pier themselves quick enough. I'm not a fan of this.
Yes, sir. I understand.
I'll just tell you.
That's fine.
Any other comments, questions?
Mr. Mayor,
Ms. Shaw?
I personally like to see this money put into other things that have proven to be more feasible, like the permanent pole, the flock. I just think it would be better used right now.
Sure.
I haven't seen these. I probably would fall off of these, but we have bikes, right?
We do.
And I understand the equipment weight. I don't know how y'all do it. I know I couldn't do it. But, I agree.
Another golf cart.
If we needed it, but not
I'm saying
these.
if we need another golf cart's fine with me,
That's just my
because
opinion.
I like the golf cart part of it. When I'm down there riding around and see the golf cart out, they've got enough power in these golf carts that they can actually get to the place pretty quick.
Yes, sir.
And then you won't deal with lithium batteries, and that would be great to buy a new golf. For me, the public might want you to have strikes, but as a council member, I think this is just a toy.
I understand.
I feel that way,
I understand.
but the golf cart is more feasible.
I gotta give you something to say no to.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
It's been a few years, but the Kevin James movie probably doesn't help
Yes.
the case a lot, but anyway. Any other questions on the mobility vehicles? All right.
Mr. Mayor,
Oh,
I'd
Mr.
just
Krakow.
like to add, I think 45 miles an hour on one of those would be very dangerous. Period.
They're very stable, those.
They might
surprisingly.
be
I know they
stable,
don't
but
look
all
like
it takes
it.
is one little turn at 45
Yeah.
on that little tire is gonna flip you right on over.
When you get home this afternoon, just Google it and look it up and
I
watch some of
have.
the videos.
I
Did you?
have.
Okay. Yeah, they lean. It's pretty cool. Okay. Any other questions? Mr. Mayor?
Carry on.
The message board radar trailers, you might see those. They're deployed right now up on Highway 17, the north and south end of town. Very helpful. We keep them down on Ocean Boulevard in the summertime with those messages, no golf carts at night, noise, speed, strictly enforced, 10 miles an hour, whatever signs, whatever messages we need to get out. We do expect that with 4th of July coming, if you do have fireworks this year, we're going to need these signboards, perhaps on Surfside Drive and other areas to get as much messaging about parking, where people can go and other things. They've been super helpful for us. They also, of course, have the ability to, they will have radar in them so that they can be used as speed boards. If we have a certain area we want to put those in. These will not have license plate readers in them, but they are designed with a little clear window in them so that a license plate reader could be installed in one in the future. So we're just getting one with that capability. sometimes there's a use to be able to have a license plate reader in a certain area for this short amount of time. But we have 2 of these right now. As you know, you've seen them. We've got one older one that is difficult to use. We've had really good luck with this particular brand, and they also allow for remote programming. As part of the maintenance agreement to keep them up, there's a capability in there that we can actually program them remotely from the police department if we need to change messages in real time. You don't have to have that maintenance agreement, but we use it on the 2 that we have now, and it's been really helpful to be able to ship messaging on the fly. So we would like to get 2 more of those so that we have a total of 4. We need to keep them on the highway and keep them down in the residential area or moving to Surfside Drive. They're very easy to move and ship to a location and change that signage. So that price, the funding request of $39,139 is for 2.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Kinkin?
I may be wrong, but I really attribute those keeping our fireworks down last year. We did not have near the noise on the north end, and we're pretty close to the campground. And you hardly ever saw fireworks at Surfside, but I attribute to those.
I agree.
So I think they're a huge help and a good expenditure.
It's also helped us cut down on enforcement needs for golf carts at night.
I imagine it.
Nobody likes to get those tickets, but at least if they're coming in to the E-District area and there's a clear message on them, we've seen them all summer, they say no golf carts at night. People don't like getting tickets if they didn't know it was illegal, and there's some areas around us that they're out all night long, even though it's illegal, and there's just no enforcement of it. So it seems only fair that we give our visitors an opportunity to know the law.
They come by my house way after dark.
Yes. Yeah, some folks have found some back roads to stay out of the main road, so.
Any other comments on the message boards?
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Stamey?
I think that's a great idea, Kenny. I think
Thank you.
adding 2 more, I'm gonna agree with this one. Adding 2 more is really good.
Okay.
And you said one of the ones you got now, or is it getting old, or
It
needing
is.
to be replaced?
It is getting older. It was one of the kind of first ones that we could program using a laptop. It's just hard to program some of the LEDs. It's still usable right now. It's the one, if you see during bike weeks, it's the one that sits on Surfside Drive, flashing a message, but its capabilities, the message is 1 second and it changes. That's the best we can do with it. I mean, you can't even read the messages. It flashes through them so fast.
We're gonna be looking at changing that one out pretty soon, probably.
Well, I think if we get to 4 of these and it's working, that one can probably just be phased out. I don't know that we'll need to replace it, but I would ask in the future if we saw that we needed a need for more. But with 4 of these that are the same brand, same model, same software to use to program them, it works really well. These are easy to.
I think they do great on 17 when you got them out there telling people speed limit, watch your speed, and bike week. And I think that's a great thing for visitors,
Right.
plus hometown people. It just kind of reminds you, put that reminder in your head.
Right.
So you kind of answered my question. This would then pretty much complete the vision of the message boards, except for replacement down the road and so forth. Why would you not take advantage of the license plate reader capability right off the bat?
Well, it's just that we would have to go through Flock and get an additional camera account for each one, and we certainly could. We'd love to have that opportunity, but I really wanted to focus on getting some fixed sites taken care of initially, and then see. We've borrowed one of these with a license plate reader before from SLED, and it was very helpful to have that. Just don't need it that often. So, each of those Flock cameras is about $5,000 a year. So if I put one in each one of these new ones, it'd be another $10,000 plus the recurring costs.
And you want to have the fixed sites that you've already identified. So these really don't necessarily add a whole lot. nice to have.
Yeah, if we have a problem area, we've needed them before to be able to deploy them to a problem area, or we know somebody's coming and going from a certain area, we want to know where they get to that area, and it's not where one of our license plate readers would be aware of it. It's helpful to be able to notify us with proximity alerts and geofencing.
Anything else on the message boards? All right, we're getting near the end.
This last one here, again, is the annual beach services Kubota replacement. Director Adair and I have been working on this program for a long time, trying to fine tune it down to where, how long will one of these things last being driven on the beach every day? When is the optimal time to replace it? When is the best time to be able to get a resale value back out of it, whether we sell it or trade it or whatever. Director Adair and his folks do a really good job of sorting that out to get the best return on investment. But we have found that if we buy one a year, so we're replacing them in that fashion, we can keep these pieces of equipment running throughout the summer. They are down on the beach, driving, it's hot, sand, the salt, and we really have overloaded them in the last couple of years. As we might have seen last year, we tried an experiment with getting the cones down on the beach. I know they weren't pretty. Tabitha didn't like them at all. But it was a good social experiment to see whether the cones would help us with being able to get our visitors to align the tents at the back of the beach. But those cones are heavy, and we had to deploy a cone at every avenue for the entire beach. And it took a while for our folks to be able to deploy those. I don't know if we'll always do that. Maybe there's a better solution moving forward for that notification. But the weight really took a toll on the machinery. So we have gotten one that has just a slightly larger engine in it last year, and then this would be the same thing to be able to get us through. But if we hold on to one longer than that second year, they spend most of the summer broken down. The salt and sand gets in, breaks the axles, the transmissions, it just all starts to disintegrate. And I hope my friend director there is nodding his head behind me.
He ain't in there.
Oh, there you go.
Okay.
But that's really been the program that's worked really well for us. Keep your beach services staff in service as much as possible and down on the beach, helping your tourists as ambassadors.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Walls.
if you could, Kenny, just explain to me, or do we trade these in? Are you giving some credit toward the purchase of the new?
It depends on the market, really. So there's sometimes, like right now, we do very well on an outright sale rather than trade.
Okay.
Depends what the dealer's offering us, and then we make a decision based on the best deal we can get. And that applies to any piece of equipment we have. Before we make a determination, we see what we can get on a trade, and then see what the market's bearing as far as other communities are getting for various equipment, and then we decide which ways we're gonna get the best deal.
Second question. So any monetary value that we receive from the sale of these vehicles?
Goes right back into the fund where it was paid for.
Good, thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Crackwell.
I just have a question. If it's 24,000 that you're asking for, what is the cost of one of them new?
This newer one, you meant it's 16 and some
Mid-teens,
change.
yeah.
16 and some change. We may not use all of that, but we do need to get some equipment on them when we get them. So we've built in a little bit extra there for some equipment that they need. I would be very surprised if we use anywhere near the entire amount, but the market's just kind of strange right now.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Kinkin.
have we ever thought about leasing them? Lease them for 2 years, turn them in?
I don't know that that's an option, but if it was, they would probably really be brutal on us on the trade-in with the salt and the rust and everything.
Yeah, we had that issue in the past with leased equipment to be used on the beach.
Yeah.
And they will not honor the warranties if they run it on the beach. Because of the salt water, they run it through swashes and whatnot.
Yeah, they have to.
Yeah, they have to. So we had a pickup truck a while back that we really destroyed, and they would not honor any warranty repairs on it.
It didn't work out well.
Yeah, so we kind of don't go down that road anymore.
Mr. Mayor,
Thank you.
Mr. Stamey.
how many do we have, Kenny?
We have two.
Two.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So when the new one comes in, the old one goes out of service.
do we use them regular on, like we have to both of them run all year long, or we just use one at a time mostly?
Well, your beach services staff overlaps, so both of them are in use every single day during the season. Because your beach services shifts kind of overlap each other. So a crew comes out in the morning and works until in the afternoon, and then a crew comes in late morning or around lunchtime and works until in the evening. And we're hoping to expand the hours a little bit at the request of some council folks about the luau and other things.
Yeah.
Fireworks patrols, so sometimes they can even be used at night if we're having problems with fireworks, to deploy some resources down to get on the beach and get fireworks off the beach. So there's a lot of times where they're both running, and you may not see them, but a lot of times they have a system that they move north and south on the beach all throughout the day, and they cross paths. So they're in use a good bit, both of them during the day. And of course, we use them in the off season as well.
Is this the
Family
one
festival.
in Ambassador's Ride?
Yes, sir.
Is that the one you're talking, is that the service we're using?
That's what they're primarily used for. Yes, sir.
Ambassador?
Yes.
Okay, so it's a 16,000-ish vehicle and then a few $1,000s of specialized equipment. What happens to the specialty equipment? Is that also shot after?
It just depends. We'll try to transfer what we can. You know, it just depends on the condition when it comes off. That environment is just brutal.
And this is probably more for Director Adair, but after 2 years, what is a ballpark resale value?
Probably $7,000.
Oh,
So
okay.
between 5 and 8, somewhere in that range, depending on the condition of it.
Better than I expected. Okay.
They do pretty good on resale.
Yeah, that's why we came up with the 2-year replacement. We used to go a little longer than that, but we found that this is the sweet spot to get some money back for it. Because if we wait an extra summer, similar to our backhoes, if you wait that 3rd year on this particular piece of equipment, you'll spend thousands and thousands of dollars extra in repairs before you could even sell it, just to get it ready for sale. So it's just not worth the keeping it that extra year. So we came up with every other year we'll replace one. So they kind of leapfrog each other. And that seems to be the best solution for this purpose.
Okay, anything else on the Kubotas? I think that completes yours.
I have one last thing.
Okay.
I apologize. I was just thinking, and I spoke to Melanie about it. There was one slide that I don't have in there. There's one other item on the ATAX proposal for the remaining funds, probably because it wouldn't have been a pretty picture to make, but the lithium batteries for the LSV. We've put a lot of miles on that LSV, and in conversations with S2, who we purchased it from, the recommendation was to upgrade the batteries from whatever standard batteries are in it now to the lithium batteries. So that is in there as well. We would like to upgrade the batteries in LSV so that we can get more mileage and distance out of the LSV during the summer. I'm sorry, I didn't put that slide in.
I'm good for that.
Any other questions on that? What is the primary purpose for that vehicle?
It's a great question, Mr. Mayor. During the summer, and in past summers has been very helpful, particularly in the evening, is to deploy the LSV with an officer. It's usually an overtime detail during weekends and other things, to have an officer down there visible around that area. They hang around primarily the E district, but also at night, as it's a little later at the night, they're riding around down there looking for people that are looking to take things from our visitors, fishing rods, coolers, and things like that. So we did have to change the tires on it because it had some rally tires, and so it's not very stealthy. But it's got different tires on it now, so it allows it to move around at night on the back roads, looking for anybody that might be up to no good down in R3. So they put, I think in the first year, they put 1,000 miles on that thing. It's been super helpful to us, but the batteries just have a life, and the lithium batteries are what they recommend we switch to, so we can get more use out of it per charge.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Stanley.
I'm gonna comment a little bit on the night doing of this vehicle. I'm pretty late at night on golf carts because I have an LSV. But you can be coming up on that cart and you'll never know whether it's another golf cart or what until you get there. It really patrols well at night because you never know it's a police person when you come up on this vehicle. So that's why I said earlier, instead of some of this other stuff, I'd buy another golf cart, because I think it works really great from what I've seen down there. Really great.
And to make that motion, we'll be happy to buy a second one with lithium batteries. But
Can't make that motion now.
No votes, no
No,
motion.
we,
No.
I'm just telling you what I like.
It has been very effective.
I think,
That's for sure.
I really do. I'm a big fan of it because of what it does. And you put two people on it, you have two officers if you so need to be. It can get from here to yonder in a pretty good pace. You get work traffic pretty easy on it. So I am a big fan.
Thank you. That is all I
I think
have.
that's it.
Thank you. That's all.
Already done,
Thank
okay.
you. Does anybody else need the projector? So out of the way.
I'll turn it back to Mr. Vincent. What's next?
I didn't know, Mayor, if you wanted to discuss this budget now, among yourselves, or you should continue.
I think we want to just continue.
Okay. Then next on the agenda is fire. Mr. Carter.
Thanks, Kenny.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for giving me an opportunity. I appreciate what you guys are doing to have us get up and explain why we're asking for these things. I think it's important. So thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that thought.
Yeah, you changed my mind on the two of them.
Yes.
Change my, one of them I would say, one of them I ain't sure yet.
We're grateful for whatever you approve. Thank you.
Mayor, council, Mr. Vincent, staff, and citizens, good morning, or good afternoon. What I'm asking is just for a small package here for our water rescue operations with the fire department. In past years, with the water rescue with the fire department, we have functioned with the police. The police department had a side-by-side or a full vehicle, and also a jet ski where we had the same equipment. In 2021, the police department lost their jet ski during a training operation when salt water got into the motor of the jet ski. From that point on, we have been operating with single units, with a single unit at the fire department with a side-by-side and the jet ski. At ATAX last year, we purchased a Polaris, and we also purchased a Sea-Doo jet ski to be utilized to replace that one in, one out practice we do for safety of our personnel involved in water rescue operations. This equipment is also utilized for beach medical emergencies also. One side-by-side is set up for pulling, both side-by-sides can pull jet skis. One side-by-side is set up for a medical emergency. It has a skid unit on the back that we can mount a stretcher or a Stokes basket onto. The other jet ski is set up with water rescue equipment that can be utilized on the water or the beach. This is very important that we try to update the current 2016 Yamaha and also the 2018 Bobcat. As Chief Hoffman and Mr. Adair talked earlier about the life expectancy upon these equipment, we've had a Bobcat in service for pulling that backup, is our backup piece now, since 2018. It's been on the beach. We have run 39 calls. I believe you should have the statistics and all on your email yesterday in the last in 22 and 23. 22 and 23. These have been anywhere from transporting patients, stroke, heat illness, and so forth off the beach. 5 or 6 of those were actual water rescue calls that we actually launched a jet ski and put another jet ski on the beach in case. As I did use my example, I use this as a 2 in, 2 out, like on a structure fire. When we utilize our water rescue equipment, we do 1 in, 1 out. If you get somebody out in the ocean and something goes wrong, you need somebody immediately to get out. We also utilize and call mutual aid from Burles Inlet. They have a boat that is used for water rescue, a large boat, a fire boat. And they also have Erie County has a boat in Little River. We have access to that also if needed for water operations. With that being said, with the UTV being utilized to pull the jet ski priorities, I mean, it's all going to be a priority because it's a package deal for this. It's not like it's separated over many different parts of the town or many different parts of the department. It's one particular team group that does the water rescue.
Any questions?
And also these events, I mean, also this equipment is not used just for the beach as far as tour. It's also used during our events and standbys. As all of you should know that we're required to have medical coverage and all for all our town-sponsored events. Town-sponsored events. We supply a medical tent, these side-by-sides that can utilize for transporting patients and responding to medical calls during the barbecue festival, family fest, or any other event that goes on in town. Any question?
Okay. Mr. Stanley.
I've got a question that I just stepped on the council. Are there any way that we could put both jet skis on one trailer and do it that way?
Great question. We've asked that before. It's too heavy to try to maneuver on the beach when you got currents in the sand. That's what we done in 2015. We tried that and we ended up having to swap out and get single jet ski trailers. We had police and fire jet ski both on the same trailer.
Okay.
Cool. And also these trailers that we have now are kind of balanced that you can actually maneuver it and offload the jet ski. If you don't put the Bobcat or the Polaris in the water, you get down to the beach, back, point toward the ocean, undo it, grab it, take it back out, and the way it's balanced, you can launch the jet ski by people holding the trailer.
And I want to clarify the UTV and equipment, that's for 2 different units or one?
UTV and equipment, UTV is for like the light bar, siren, everything else is going on.
So it's one UTV, one.
One UTV, it's gonna be a Polaris.
Yeah.
And you got the lights and the siren, everything else that goes on it, which with it being on the beach and the older style what we had, because you're looking at 6 years, 7 years, that we haven't replaced anything. That's what we're looking at replacing, that with lights and so forth for that. That's included in that 28,000.
Okay, so then having the one in and one ready, what's pulling the other trailer, other jet ski trailer?
Currently, we have one 2018 Bobcat, and we have a 2023, which was bought the ATAX last year.
Okay, all right, I missed the 2023, okay. Gotcha. So the Bobcat is just a backup.
That's, we moved it to backup once we got the
Okay. Yeah, I missed the 2023 unit, okay. Any other questions or comments? I have one for the fire radios.
Okay.
$50,000 in fire radios. What are we using right now?
All right, currently what we have now, we have our Motorola radios to talk to dispatch, communicate between apparatus. We also have marine radios that are utilized to talk between the units and the lifeguards that are on the beach and beach services. Currently, our radios, we have 24 portables within our department, and we actually utilize those on the beach. As of December 31st, 2023, our radios are no longer serviceable. We're trying to get a few radios we'll utilize on the beach for beach purposes, but an overall package deal, you'd be looking at over $250,000 to replace all the radios if we were to go that route. So now we're trying to replace them a little bit, and it's very thankful to Overy County, who has stepped up and who's taken over our repair services, which saved us this past year roughly between $40,000 and $50,000. I talked with Chief Randy, sorry, I just call him Chief because he was my chief when I worked for Overy County. But the emergency safety director, assistant administrator for the county, deputy administrator for the county, he actually agreed to assist us with radio programming and repairs. This past year, when they did radios, they upgraded them for GPS tracking. They can track us if we're in a fire. If a radio was stolen, they can track it, find out where it's at. Many other features they've added to ours to be equal to them.
So this 50,000, Mr. Mayor,
Yeah, Mr. Stanley.
this $50,000 are for new radios. It ain't for upfitting the old ones. This is brand new stuff.
This is actually replacement because our radios are no longer serviceable.
How many radios will that replace?
You're looking at roughly about $8,000 to $10,000 a piece for the portables. That's why I say right now, depending on what brand, what you buy through Motorola, APX 6000s, XEs are roughly about between $7,000 and $10,000 a piece.
So we're looking at 5?
You're looking at about
$50,000?
You're looking at 5. And with all due respect with us here, Chief, your radios are in the same boat that we're in. So now all radios in the police department are no longer serviceable. So you're probably looking at, could be $500,000 or better, police and fire.
Mine are 6,600 a piece. They need something a little different for the fire, but mine are gonna be 60. Mine are gonna be in the hospitality budget.
Their radios were, I think, purchased in 2013. Ours were purchased in 2016. And we're not even talking about mobiles and units, because the mobiles and the units will last a whole lot longer than the portables.
So we have 5 new ones.
Well, I've also put her, the new chief will work on that in the budget to do a replacement plan each year. The current replacement I have to work with Mr. Vincent on is replace roughly 5 to 6 radios a year for the next 4 to 5 years. But if they do change their radio programming or these radios go out faster than what we recommend, it could cost this town a whole lot of money.
I think that's good information to have. Anything else? I think that does it.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Larry.
Thank you.
I know we've had a few get-ups and all. Does anybody need a recess? Okay, we'll carry on. Mr. Vincent, where do we go now?
Yes, sir. Public Works, John Deere.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Council, and citizens. Yeah, I've been trained by our previous finance director, Diana King, with all due respect to Melanie, that ATAX is, police and fire take the lion's share of ATAX money. You know, we traditionally budget for beach cleaning in every year, beach raking, servicing the bathrooms. That's manpower transfers later on during the year, and then any equipment we use on the beach, such as beach rigs and tractors and stuff like that. That's pretty much all the ATAX money that we get. So when we were asked to come up with something that could be used right away for this plan to use this money, what I submitted was to the beach tractor, which I was gonna budget anyway for July, but we can get that earlier, for 25,000 is in there, which pulls the beach rigs. Additionally, I put in there an item that was actually already purchased. I was gonna budget in stormwater, which is that inline check valve down by the Pierce Wash that could be used for ATAX purposes because it services the E district. So that will be an appropriate transfer to code that purchase to ATAX. It's about $12,000. And also, the already approved pier camera system for $60,000 will be an appropriate use of this current ATAX money that will be spent right away. And so that's why I suggested to use those three things, with this available money that has to be spent relatively quickly. I would say, the alternative would be the pier cameras could stay where they were originally planned in the pier fund, but, you know, you're looking to move money into the pier fund, so this might be an appropriate, stroke of a pen. The tractor will be budgeting anyway. If you don't want to spend the 25 with the old money, you would have budgeted in July to spend with next year's money. So it's one way or the other. The tractor has to get replaced. And that's all my only items on here. So if anyone has any questions about that, I'll be happy to clarify anything.
Mr. Stamey?
I haven't got any questions about what you're asking for. I'm just curious, why didn't you ask for some more mats to go across the beach?
Well, the mats are only appropriate at places where you have handicapped access. The purpose of the mat is for mobility. So if someone has to climb stairs to get onto the beach, I would make an argument that you really don't need the mat because they're not going to be rolling themselves out in a wheelchair after they've climbed steps past the dune line. We have the Moby mats. They're installed at 3rd Avenue North, which there's a ramp system. We have one over at 13th Avenue South, where there's a ramp system. We have another one that I have already that's going to be installed at the pier access once we get that open for people to roll right into the parking lot out onto the beach. And I have maybe one other one I can procure in the future with the next, the 3rd South. If I reconfigure that ramp system a little bit, I might have an opportunity to put another one out there. You have all the other accesses pretty much either have stairs up and down to get onto the beach, or they're drive-overs where police emergency equipment has to drive over, and that wouldn't be appropriate for those locations. So basically, the 3 or 4 that I've identified are, I believe, the most appropriate places to put them.
I used the one down at Third Lot, and I'm an older person, and walking on that mat really helps getting out to the beach over that sand. So that's why I'm asking why ain't you putting them more places than just handicap ramp. It does help me as just a general person to get across them at sand.
No, you can make an argument for that, absolutely. It helps with mobility to walking across, but you still, most of our accesses, you have to go up, 10, 12 steps and then down 10, 12 steps to get to that dune side anyway. So, most of those people aren't the people with mobility problems. That's my logic. But we can definitely explore that down the road, if that's the desire of council. But I try to be a good steward of the town funds and,
I like that. I like that.
not overdo good things.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Kinkin?
John, are there any plans to add any more restrooms?
Well, not at the moment. The last one, the 7th one, we had 6 public restrooms. We actually started off these new style bathrooms with the one over in Memorial Park, which there was never one there before. So that was not a replacement. That was a new service. The one over by where the farmer's market is.
Correct.
The other 6, 4 beach bathrooms and 2 in the parks, are replacements of what was there already. Those old, cinder block style bathrooms. And the very last one in Fuller Playground is being replaced right now. I'll have that before the summer. That'll be installed. And that'll be, all of our public restrooms will be replaced. I don't really anticipate putting any more in unless there's another park that needs one. I mean, I don't really see, we don't have a bathroom at Martin Field, but it's not really heavily used, I don't think, enough. Well, yeah, there is a bathroom at Martin Field. We were replaced that already. All children's, passive, the 4 beach bathrooms. I really don't have any other places to put one.
Well,
The pier parking lot.
how about upgraded porta johns?
Where would you suggest?
Well,
Porta john?
probably every 3rd, 4th, or 5th access ought to have a restroom. I mean, people use them. And a lot of beaches have porta johns. Not that I like porta johns, I avoid them like the plague. But we have an older population that walks, and, if you're going north, I think the last one's at 6th Avenue. Maybe at 3rd.
Yeah.
Well, if you're going to 15th Avenue, that's a long walk. That's a half a mile or more.
Yeah.
And old people go to the bathroom a lot, as you've seen today.
Yeah, I wouldn't be opposed to it, Councilman. There are,
I didn't ask you this ahead of time, so I kind of sprung it on you, and
no,
I
that's
apologize.
fine. That's fine. And I have thought about things like this. It's the same as showers. It's the same as golf cart parking. We're trying to please a lot of people with these beach accesses.
Correct.
And my focus right now is on getting golf carts in there, and making sure that the accesses are safe and the signage is correct. We can certainly talk about a porta john, or they do make smaller units, the company that I deal with.
Oh, okay.
Than the ones we've been using. Maybe there's an opportunity at one of the bigger accesses on the north side to put another one in the future. I will certainly be happy to explore that. But I'd much rather see a permanent bathroom than
I
porta john.
agree, because I like our permanent bathrooms.
Yeah, if you go down to Garden City, they've actually started, Horry County started to using the bathrooms I buy. They all come here to see what we're doing, and then they say that's a great idea, and I think I'll do it.
I don't think you need the big ones that you're buying now. I think a single stall would work just fine for,
Yeah,
they're all unisex.
yeah, with the beach, it's hard because you have setback issues. You can't be on top of your property line. A lot of that would have to be explored, within a 15 or 20-foot access.
Right.
There could be some placement problems, but I'll certainly explore it.
Well,
the direction everybody wants to go in.
I'd appreciate it if you at least looked into it.
I'll look into it, absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
So that bathroom will take away some parking space, in the
Oh,
access.
Lord. Uh-oh.
Oh, there's a can of worms.
Yeah, I'll just say it's a balancing act.
Good to put that in.
It's a balancing
No,
act.
it's good.
Anything else for Director Adair?
Mr. Mayor, I just would like to make one comment.
Mr. Wallace?
I seriously appreciate the efforts and the work that you put into those restaurants. I've heard so many restrooms restaurants, restrooms. I've heard so many positive comments about the all children park and stuff you've done down there. It's just, we appreciate your efforts. I just want to-
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, and over by the Fuller Playground, right next to the tennis court, and we're putting the last one in, getting the site ready right now. It should be in by April, hopefully.
That's
Mr. Mayor?
the shower is going across the beach.
Okay, Ms. Shaw?
Question, signs. Is your intent to put up more signs on the beach, like stay off the dunes? There's just, I don't think our signs really say clear enough, like about the dog situation and, I just think there's a better way, like on Third North, that's my access. Some people will argue how it reads, whether their dog can be on the beach after 5 o'clock, on or off a leash. It drives me crazy, and I love dogs, don't get me wrong, I love animals. But when it comes to a dog that's not on a leash, charging a child, that's when I have problems. So I'm wondering if we can get more signage. You have this big old list, and it's like, you're not gonna read that list. I mean, that's not, people just don't do it.
Yeah, well, you try to avoid sign clutter as well.
I
If you have
understand
the
that.
signs for every separate issue, the dogs always have to be on leashes.
Right.
And that's town ordinance, and I think we might have some signs to that effect. And the dogs on the beach rule was changed several years ago, where it used to be that they weren't allowed on the beach at all in the summertime.
Mhm.
And then a few years ago, council passed it where they can go on after 5 o'clock, I think, in the afternoon.
Right.
Something like that. Those signs were adjusted to reflect those times.
There's not a time I go down the beach that a dog is not on. I mean, there's always one or two not on a leash. So it's kind of my pet peeve when it comes to safety.
Right.
For not even children, but the older people like me getting knocked over.
Yeah, and with regard to the keep off the dune signs, we had a lot of them wash away in the last couple of years after the hurricanes and the tropical storms. Being that the Army Corps is doing the beach renourishment this year, later on this year, they'll be replacing all that sand fencing and all those signs again. So
Okay,
let it be on their expense. I mean, I could have jumped ahead
I
and
forgot that, I'm
spent some
sorry.
money on that, but I really want to spend my money on that.
Thank you.
Hopefully, common sense prevails.
I have one question. We've talked about beach access, and you mentioned getting dog carts in and out. There are still some that are pretty sandy.
Right.
Easy to get stuck. Mr. Kinkin can remember pulling me out of one at a beach sweep last year. How much does that cost roughly to put like the paving, lattice paving or something like that, if that's even the best solution?
Well, it is. You need some sort of the grasscape pavers, and like we have on some of our accesses for the golf carts to get some traction on. And I have been thinking about putting some and more of those out there, particularly with all the new golf cart activity we've had in the last year or two. What I am doing in this budget process that we're working through right now is I'm getting the stats from Pivot Parking as to which accesses were the heaviest used by golf carts in this last year. And that'll guide me as to what my maybe 2 targets will be for next winter. And I would like to do a couple of those. They'll run somewhere in the $10,000 per area to put that down. That Curb Creek, it has the holes in it so the water goes through it. And it's around 10 grand each. And I plan on budgeting that in the upcoming budget. Once I get with Pivot and determine which ones I want to attack. I can probably get 2 done, especially now that the bathroom situation is behind me. For the most part, I can focus next winter on that. We try in the off season to do our little construction projects and things like that, but we only have so many people.
All right. Anything else? Thanks, Director Adair.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, John.
We're rolling. Mr. Vincent?
And last but not least, events, Ms. Tappan.
Get up here.
I'm coming.
Oh, Lord.
Here she comes. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for saving me for last this evening or this afternoon. Okay, I know, right? Okay, so I too was told most, the safety, fire, and police get most of this budget, so that's why you saw just a small amount on my proposal. But with that being said, I was asked by the mayor to come up with a list of things, if I had the desire to make more tourism events for our town. So what you see, the pop-up tent and table coverings, you see that it's $880, self-explanatory. Our tents are not very brand friendly, and we don't want our town represented that way. So that's a simple fix. We just get the new tents and coverings and we should be good with that. And again, covered by the ATAX. The salary supplement for the events coordinator is $25,000 for part-time, and that also is covered through ATAX because she is the events coordinator for tourism. So, Pure Events, that particular $20,000 budget that I put in here is for advertising. And then the final piece of that would be the $75,000 roll forward, of course, with the grand opening. So that's what I have there so far, and that covers, again, fireworks, music, entertainment on that piece of it. Any questions on this?
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Walls?
just nothing in here for soft opening.
There is not.
Already been budgeted another.
It has,
Okay.
yes.
I didn't know if we could, I was gonna say, we can't roll tax dollars either local.
Right,
Is that what you're
it's
targeting?
community,
Okay.
yeah, so this is for the community ourselves.
I wanted to make sure we know that.
Thank you for asking that.
All I have.
Anything else?
Yes.
Mr. Stavey?
Mr. Tabitha, my question is about this grand opening of a fireworks show for the $75,000 we're gonna spend.
Sure.
Why do we need a fireworks show for the grand opening and turn right around at 4th of July and have another fireworks show? Why do we need 2 fireworks shows in 1 year?
Well, first of all, we haven't discussed.
I'm sorry.
So I was just gonna say, first of all, we have not determined when the grand opening is going to be. So, I have done a lot of work with the businesses in town, and they want a grand opening celebration that's going to drive people to the area and not necessarily just scoop up what's already here in the summer. So that has not been determined.
So really, you might not need this $75,000, is what you're saying then, because it ain't been determined that we're even gonna have a grand opening no time soon. We might be opening on the 4th of July. Why couldn't we just have one fire show just for one opening? Why do we need?
It's up to you guys. It's up to you guys.
I understand, but
I
I'm
execute.
asking you because you're the one that's asking for the $75,000 for the grants.
Right.
And I'm just questioning, why do we need if we get the beer and get an opening, turn right around in another month or so and have another big fireworks show again? It's questionable to me about 2 fireworks shows in 1 year. Because it costs a lot of money to have them things.
I totally agree. But it's, I mean, like I said, I don't know when the grand opening is going to happen. So I guess we could talk about it then, but as far as this, it's already been budgeted, so you guys can decide how to use that. It's up to you.
Do the budget include anything from,
1 second, there's someone like at the door.
I think he was just.
He was over there. I
Okay.
think he's looking at us.
Does the chamber have any, don't they have a certain amount of money that we can use for this grand opening besides what we budgeted for?
Yes, what the chamber's money can be used for is the advertising of this, and that campaign is already underway.
So that 85,000 or whatever it was, probably $100,000 is going to just be used for advertisement money?
Well, that's a piece of it. So again, when we determine that grand opening, I can definitely go back and ask what else we can use for it. But right now, it's for advertising.
Mr. Mayor. Mr. Kinkin?
I was under the impression that we had fireworks, we closed the pier, because we fired them off the pier. So that to me is, negates having a grand opening if you can't get on the pier. So, I'm thinking that grand opening ought to allow people, as many want to get on that pier as least be possible. And not have it shut down at 7 o'clock because they got to set up fireworks.
Oh, I see what you're saying. You're saying we should not have fireworks at all.
Not for the grand opening.
Gotcha.
Because I think, if I remember right, the pier is closed the day of the fireworks.
Well,
At some point during the day, I don't remember what
Right.
time, because I remember going down with my kids years ago and they were having fireworks. This first year we had fireworks on the pier. And I didn't know it was closed, but it was closed.
right, so they do at some point close it off, so, just to meet the guidelines for safety.
Yeah.
So at some point it would be closed, then the fireworks would go off, yes.
Thank you.
Anything else? Okay.
And then did you want me to, go ahead and ask your questions and then I'll tell you the rest of it.
Well, you have more still?
Well, you had asked me to bring more, additional requests.
Oh, okay, okay.
So I'll do that on part 2.
All right, that's fine. Okay, so, pier grand opening, $75,000. Most of that is fireworks, I'm guessing,
It is
roughly.
50,000.
Wow, okay. And the rest is
Minimum.
the entertainment, and, yeah, okay. I knew it was a lot, but, okay. And then, well, that's really probably most of what else I would say is gonna be what you're gonna go into, so carry on.
Okay. So just some additional requests by priority. Another one of those would be fishing tournaments on the pier. I think that would be a great tax use of money and also a very family-friendly event that we could put on. The next one would be beach volleyball tournaments. Once we have that pier open, I think we could attract a lot of schools and teams to our area, which would again help our businesses. And then a Sandcastles and Shag Festival. This is another portion of the chamber bringing back Sun Fun Week in May. So it is their hope to do the Grand Strand Sun Fun Week again. And then each beach along the Grand Strand would have an event. And quite frankly, nothing to me says family like Sandcastles and Shag, with some crab racing and, the hermit crabs and all that fun stuff for the kids. We'd of course have a sandcastle contest, adult and children, and make it a big family fun event. And then of course, a kite festival would be my last piece there. A kite festival, I think, is done in Huntington Beach. It's also done in North Carolina. It is a very fun event. I've went to plenty of those, specifically in San Juan, Puerto Rico. They have the largest one, and it is absolutely amazing to see all the tourists come down because they're flying a kite. And some of the kites are about as big as the ceiling. Like, it's unbelievable how beautiful those are. So it's very creative. It's another family fun event as well. Just a couple of other pieces to that. In long-term saving money for the town, and that also could be covered with ATAX, a portable stage. Instead of us having to rent stages all the time, we could have a portable stage. Our current portable stage is not in good condition. And it's a small stage, so we could replace that to be used at events that we don't need an enormous stage on. Or get an enormous stage, either way. And then also, another attraction that we could promote would be building a stage in Memorial Park. I think KSBD worked with Director Adair on a project for a memorial park that we could bring bands to that would attract tourism, or acts. When I say bands, I don't mean just musical bands, but it would be so cool if we had like a really popular magic show or whatever the case that would, attract tourists to our town. Then on top of that, The photo op for the kiosk, I thought that would be a great idea, and again, it would be covered by ATAX, where you would just go up there, put your location in. Hey, I'm at the Surfside Beach Fishing Pier, you guys should come down here, get your picture taken, and it goes out on social, for people to know a memorabilia piece there. And then finally, a golf cart, an LSV. Right now, it is my personal cart that is being used, and KSVV's carts that are being used. So I figured that if we could get an LSV for events, that would also help us a lot. But again, not a super priority. These are just a list of things that we could do. And that covers my list.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Stamey?
do you have any kind of cost to any of this?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I do. Would you guys like me to email it to you, or you want me to just talk it through?
Well, you can do either one, whichever one you feel comfortable doing.
It's up to you, so if you want to name one, I
How about
can.
both?
Okay, let's do both.
Just run it through.
Okay.
We don't need exact, and then.
No,
we
I'm
can
just
follow.
curious, like the fishing tournaments,
Okay.
the volleyball tournaments, how much money would it take to put on these tournaments for a day or 2 days or whatever you had in your mind?
Sure, absolutely. So these are approximate costs, so I don't have them locked tight right now.
I
Okay.
understand.
Okay. So the fishing tournaments around 20,000. Beach volleyball around 40. Sandcastles and shag around 30. Kite festival around 20. Going down to the items, portable stage 10. The building of the stage, I believe, was 50. The photo op kiosk 10. And then the LSV 15 with lithium batteries.
Might as well jump on that bandwagon.
The stage that you're talking about in Memorial Park, now that was under the $50,000. Is that what you're saying, we wanted to build it in Memorial Park?
Yes,
That would stay there?
Yes, sir. It would be a permanent
affordable
stage.
for-
Like North Myrtle Beach has that, I call it like a amphitheater kind of thing. So that's the vision of it.
Any other questions? Well, that's one I was gonna ask, was what all this costs, so, it's pretty much all I've got. Anybody else? That's it? Thank
All
you.
right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Kevin.
Mr. Vincent?
Unless there's discussion among council, then you go to public comment.
I think we can discuss a little bit after public comments if we wish to. We may as well hear what other folks are gonna say.
Mr. Mayor,
So,
I'd like to go ahead and thank all our public officials for coming in and presenting this stuff to us, because it is helpful to me and I'm most certainly most everybody up here. So we do appreciate it, even though we might not agree with some of the things you want, but we do appreciate hearing from you and telling us these things.
all right, well, with that, anybody from the public want to make a comment?
Morning, Council.
Morning.
John
Afternoon.
Gilchrist, Melody Lane. Listening to the meeting and stuff, a couple things I want to do is that I listen to Kenny and stuff, and I agree with a lot he does, and I know that he does an outstanding job. But this camera thing just wears me out. I mean, we're supposed to be landed free. We're inundated with cameras now. Between the Ring cameras and all the cameras are in this town and stuff like that. I think that number 100 that he was looking forward to should about max out this town. I feel strongly about that. That's pretty much it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Come on up here.
Robin Parton, I live at 514 Pine Drive. As you know, I'm on the ATAX committee. I've contacted all of you, and through a mistake, I was precluded from being able to be at the ATAX meeting, or I would have voiced a lot of my opinions there. I'm all for safety. I mean, I live here, I have a business here, I have a rental property here. I've got a lot invested in Surfside. So I I'm all for safety, I'm all for making this a better town. However, this money, from what I read when I was looked at the A-tax regulations, was supposed to be for tourism and to promote tourism. Now, that said that it could also be used to support tourism, but the way I read it, that it was supposed to be leaning towards promoting tourism and making this a tourist-friendly town. We do that. We call ourselves the Family Beach, but we don't have that many things for families to do here. I think some of the things that the events is planning are wonderful things that are going to bring tourism, bring families into this beach. I would propose that we would consider, and I haven't even talked to Tabitha about this, so I'm throwing this out there, that we would consider, we've got Coastal Carolina right down the road. There are students who would love to be able to have a summer internship where they come and they help put on events. Have things like, our family has stayed at resorts before where they had programs, family programs. And one night during the week, they might have beach relays for families, and families sign up and they do all kinds of fun games with the families, and one family competes against another family on a relay. And it might be like they're filling water buckets to get to the big water bucket, or they're building a sand castle, and who can make the tallest sand castle in an amount of time. Things like that are what is going to bring families in and make families want to come to Surfside. We want them to come to Surfside. We don't want this to be turned into another Myrtle Beach. We want it to be Surfside. We want to have our own flavor. So I think by promoting the family aspect, maybe getting some of these kids these college students that are in the hospitality and hotel program at Coastal would be a great resource for us to have them work during the summer, so we can pay them through this A-tax committee to put these little festivals on. Have a bingo night where families come in here and they set up and they have bingo and they win prizes. Like I've been to a resort before where my kids won a basketball. It doesn't, or a game, a board game. It doesn't have to be very expensive, but it can be something that can be a lot of fun and draw a lot of families in. I also would like us to explore reaching out to the homeschool. Homeschool is huge in this country. Homeschool is huge in this area. And when I say this area, I'm not just talking about the Myrtle Beach area. I'm talking about South Carolina, North Carolina. They put on, I used to work at a school that we did this. We would work with them. They put on spelling bees. They put on art contests. They put on math bees. They have all kinds of things like that. And you can have those homeschools have events here in the off season to bring people in. So you could have a spelling bee here, and kids from homeschool, kids from all over South Carolina could come to Surfside to put that spelling bee on. And they can do it during the off season because they're homeschooled. They're not bound by a traditional school year. So things like that, I think we need to start looking outside the box. And it seems like to me that in the past, this was an extra, for each department, they had to have a budget, a yearly budget. Any place I've ever worked, every department has to submit a budget. To me, it seems like in the past, this was just like extra budget for every department. So they had their budget, they filled it, but there's always this extra money that they can get. So I just think we need to start thinking outside the box, start thinking about using the money for what the state has intended it, and just make this our priority. Make this the family beach. That's it.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Good afternoon, everyone. Sorry, I never can talk in this room because of the conditions in here. Anyway, thank you all for having this. Carolyn Pravlik, 512 13th Avenue North. Thank you for having this discussion. I think it's very important to not just leap into to things. Anyway, based on the last council meeting, I'm coming to encourage you to put some money for sidewalks into this, if this is a possibility. I would think it would be based on the timing that was discussed. Sidewalks definitely promote the tourism aspect of what this money is supposed to be for, but it also has the benefit of supporting the residents. We need more sidewalks. And so I listened to Director Adair. He's got money that he's willing to cross off the list here for the things he put on the list. Let's direct that money to sidewalks. That's in his bailiwick. Let's put some around the town. The comprehensive plan, people were urging the town to come up with sidewalks. The comprehensive plan recommends sidewalks. Let's put some in. We have a number of places that we could put them to make them cross the town. I have been a champion, as some of you all know from coming to these meetings, for a sidewalk along Cedar around the lake, because I think that's a hazardous location. I walk there all the time, and the cars go into opposing traffic, which, I don't know if you're familiar with the line of sight, there isn't one. You can't see the oncoming cars. And we are just, a tragedy away. Anyway, I think if a sidewalk ran along Cedar and down to Hollywood, you could then have a sidewalk that ran across, almost across town, if you pulled that up. And I think we should have a sidewalk on Fifth Avenue North, because that's a big traffic area. Get people over to the side. And I know that the comprehensive plan recommended a mixed use pathway, I guess is what you call it, along 17, picking up from Fifth Avenue and running out to 17th North, all along, so that could become part of the East Coast bike path, and that could connect up to Poplar. That gives us then another basically cross-town sidewalk option. So I encourage you to do that. I like the idea of the electronic signs, but I think the problem with the electronic signs is that by saying golf carts at night, people don't get the message, or no golf carts at night. People don't get the message because you have all of these golf cart looking vehicles that are traveling around at night. And so that suggests to people that you can drive your golf cart at night without any consequences, because I don't think people understand the distinction. So putting no golf carts at night up there, I think doesn't have any impact on folks, or the likely is, what do they mean? There are golf carts all over the place, kind of thing. If we were going to have those signs, I would encourage that they say to keep the noise down for our motorcycle visitors, that would be a plus. If you're in the town, I think keeping that noise down would be a good idea. I also think we should spend some money on painting the speed limits on the pavement, particularly in the area along Ocean Boulevard where we want people to go 10 miles an hour.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, I was thinking we're probably at the 5 minutes, so go ahead and finish this talk,
Sorry,
please.
just put it on the pavement because people don't get it. Everybody blows through there. And if you want people really going 10 miles an hour, put it right in their line of sight on the pavement. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other comments? All right, at that point, I'm going to ask if we've got any here on council. Mr. Staney, you want to start us off?
Thanks for everybody coming out. They're laughing.
You don't have it on the agenda to do,
I can't do comments?
it's not on the agenda. You have public comments, but you don't have council comments on the agenda.
Okay, I asked about that, but, okay. I guess we had a miscommunication then.
Yeah, maybe I
Okay.
didn't understand you.
All right. Well, then I guess I'm gonna close that out. I don't want to break our rules, but with that, I guess I'm going to thank everybody for attending, and I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Mayor, I'm making the motion, we adjourn this meeting.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you.
See, I made it.